What's up guys, Dirk here from Intelligent Cryptocurrency. In today's video, I want to revisit the possibilities of Bitcoin going to $100,000 and then as a result, based on previous ratios, what the potential price of Ethereum could be. We're going to look at some other things like how high could other coins go in a potential bull run, are we still going to get a bull run, and all that good stuff. All right, let's start by looking at the charts over here. And as you can see, Bitcoin is still trading at $15,411. Okay, it is the 9th of November 2020, and we just had the weekly close yesterday. And this weekly close is the highest weekly close since January 2018. You can see over here, we haven't had a full body close for the week since 2018. And actually, in fact, if you go and look over here, there were actually only 2 weeks, this green one and this green one, 2 weekly candles. That's the only time ever it's been higher in the history of Bitcoin. That's it for this very brief little period. So we are entering into a territory that is pretty much close to record levels, record everything for Bitcoin. And as you can see over here, the last time this happened in 2017, the next candle, you can see over here, we closed the same. This candle, the next candle was just a one massive candle from 15,400 where we are right now, all the way up to the all-time high of almost $20,000. So it could happen in as little as 1 week. We could get a massive green candle and hit that all-time high. And since we still have about 7 weeks left of 2020, there is actually a decent possibility that we might hit that all-time high once again. Now, obviously, there's a lot of uncertainty in stock markets, in financial markets with the US elections and everything that's going on with the state of this year and the lockdowns and blah, blah, blah. So anything can really happen. And to be honest, I'm not too sure if I'd like to see a big wick candle like that where it goes up like $5,000 in a week, because the problem with that, as you've seen before, over here and over here, if we get these big weekly candles, well, then there's a good chance it's going to be an exhaustion phase of the move up, and that it's going to be followed by weeks, if not months, of correction or sideways action, which is something that, I'd rather not see. I'd rather see it, going more slowly and going more sideways and then continuing to go to new highs over the coming year. Okay, if we get this exhaustion move too quick, well, then, we might not get that enormous push up that we've been looking for, and that's going to be not so nice, of course. So I'd like to see it just consolidate, for the next maybe even month or 2 months, just kind of go sideways, hang around here, slowly move up towards that all-time high, and then break through it. Now, I actually wanted to show you something. I wanted to show you gold, because gold, in my opinion, is leading Bitcoin. Now, if we can see over here, this is the weekly chart of gold. And as you can see, that's a very similar pattern. We had this massive peak over here, a massive bull run, and it peaked in 2011, right, for gold. Then we had this massive dip, and does it look similar to Bitcoin? I'll actually show you them overlaid in a second. But gold already went back to that all-time high, and it actually surpassed it. It's kind of consolidating over here, and it looks like gold is going to continue higher. Now, if we look back at Bitcoin, you can see over here, we've had a very similar chart, and I've actually created a bit of an overlay over here. So you can see the top over here is gold, and this is Bitcoin. And obviously the time frames are very different. Gold took, 9 years to get back to its all-time high, but we're talking about the shape, the chart action. And you can see over here, we had that Bitcoin peak, we had this massive kind of rounding bottom, and it looks like we're very much on the way up to testing those all-time highs. If it's going to follow gold, well, then there's a chance we might do something like this and move around like this and then continue higher. So that is a very good possibility. So far, they look very, very similar if we're looking here at gold versus Bitcoin. And I think with all the fundamental stuff that's happening behind Bitcoin, well, there's a good chance that I think this is going to happen. Also, heading over to Plan B, $100 trillion on Twitter, who is the famous anonymous analyst who created the stock-to-flow model for Bitcoin. And I think he created it. He's very famous for just talking about that nonstop. And you can see over here how every time after the halving happens in Bitcoin, how the plateau changes. And the price action so far has kept up with the stock to flow model perfectly. And the next level, now that we've had the halving in May this year, is over the $100,000 level. And you can see over here, these are months out to the halving. You've probably seen this before. So when the dots change from blue to red, that is the point of the halving. And you can see after the halving, it just takes off and makes this new parabolic run. It happened over here after 2012. It happened here after 2016. And we are now at the point of after 2020. You can see it moved from blue to red, and we are starting to move higher. So that means over the coming, say, 12 months or so, we should start moving towards that $100,000 level. And if that happens, you know, it's never guaranteed, but if that happens, it's going to be very interesting. And I want to look at the historic BTC to Ethereum ratio to kind of have a look at what the potential Ethereum price could be if Bitcoin goes to $100,000. So right now, Bitcoin is trading at 15,400. So if we take 100,000 divided by 15,400, that's basically a 6.5x from these levels if Bitcoin were to go to $100,000. So heading over to the chart, Ethereum compared to Bitcoin, this is the ratio. You can see it's been as high as 0.15. But again, we have to line up kind of the price action. So this date wasn't the all-time high of Bitcoin. The all-time high of Bitcoin was 17 December 2017. So you can see over here, it was approximately around this point. So let's say 0.05. So if Bitcoin were to go at $100,000 and this ratio were to be the same times by 0.05, then we could look at $5,000 per Ethereum, right? But of course, that is only at this point. We could have a peak of as high as 0.15. So it could actually be possible if we say 100,000 times 0.15, that we're looking at $15,000 per Ethereum at some point. That is a possibility. So somewhere between $5,000 and $15,000. Now, obviously, that is an insane level from here, because even just 5,000, okay, so 5,000 divided by what Ethereum is trading at right now is 450. That's 11x. Remember, I showed you Bitcoin was 6.5x if it were to go to $100,000. If that same BTC ETH ratio is there, Ethereum will increase by 11x, so significantly outperforming Bitcoin once again. But obviously, if it were to go to 15,000, well, then it would be a lot bigger, right? Divide by 450, then it could almost be as high as 33x. Now, obviously, there's a lot of stuff happening with Ethereum. I made a video about it just 2 days ago, so I'll link to that up here or in the description below. You can check that out. Obviously, Ethereum is transitioning to ETH 2.0. It's a big experiment. It's a big project in motion. There's a lot of smart people working on it. There's a lot of capital invested, but it still remains to be seen if they're going to be successful with their transition, with their staking, with fixing their scaling issues, and so on and so forth. If they're able to do that, okay, if they're able to fix those issues, then I think the chance of Ethereum going way higher is pretty decent, in my opinion, because there's such a large amount of cryptocurrency projects that are built on Ethereum. So if we can fix the scaling issues, all those projects can continue to build, new projects can build. There's all the DeFi that's happening on the space. The staking will happen, so people will be buying Ether to be able to stake it and get yield. So a lot of it depends on the coming upgrade and the success, if they can successfully execute their new platform. Now, with all this talk about, $100,000 Bitcoin or $5,000 Ethereum and the next bull market and so on and so forth, which I do think there's a high chance of happening. Personally, I believe we're going to be very pleasantly surprised for cryptocurrencies in 2021, the fourth year of a cycle. But again, just going back to the traditional market cycle, it's good to look at this and the market psychology behind cycles. It's good to look at this from time to time, right? You have disbelief, hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria, the mania, which we saw in 2017, and then the whole bear market, which is complacency, anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, anger, depression, and then it repeats once again. So personally, what I'm thinking is we're somewhere here at this hope stage, okay? The disbelief, I think we were there a little bit, right? When Bitcoin started going higher, once we got to 12K, it was kind of a disbelief. And Bitcoin, it pulled back to 10,000, but it held. And it continued and went back to 12, it went to 13, went to 14. Now we're at 15, okay? And if you remember, I don't know if you watched this, but on my channel 3 months ago here, the first time when Bitcoin broke the $10,000 level, I said this time is different, and I outlined to you why it was going to be different to 2019, where it was just a quick peak above it and a drop below it, and the previous few times it was above 10,000. So far that has ended up being absolutely spot on, because we broke that $10,000 level, and we have had the longest streak above $10,000 with daily closes ever in the history of Bitcoin. I think we're going on 100 days, maybe it's past 100 days now since we broke that for the last time. But that was kind of the point where I was, past the disbelief stage. So now I'm kind of in the hope stage. I still am not 100% convinced, because we've been through this 3-year bear market, and every single time there's been some slither of hope, and there's been a pump and things like that. It's been smacked back down only to go lower and to continue going sideways for longer. But I think this time is different. Like I made that video 3 months ago. There's the institutional money coming in, publicly listed companies. There's so much more adoption happening, crypto, etc., etc. Plus, the 4-year cycle is playing out perfectly after the halving. It's been about 6 months. We're moving into that final year stage of the 18 months past the halving, when the peak could be happening. So if that is going to repeat, well, then we could be in exactly this stage, the hope stage. I don't think we have had the optimism just yet. The rally is real. I think for me, that'll be like once altcoins really start moving significantly higher, and we're talking about like a good 5-10x for the whole altcoin market, or if Bitcoin can get to $20,000 without crashing back down to $10,000 or something like that, and it can continue going, and even if it trades sideways for a while, around $18,000, $19,000, $20,000, I think at that point I'll start to think, hey, this rally is real, and then the real thing is going to kick off. And if the cycles repeat, that could be anywhere in the next few months to maybe even as much as still waiting another 6 months. So the thing is always with these cycles and with market action is that I think things just don't happen as people expect them to. If everyone expects something to happen on a certain date, it usually just doesn't, because it's priced in, and then it either happens before the time or it happens later. Okay, so if everyone is expecting this kind of peak for Bitcoin to come towards end of 2021, there is a chance that it kind of gets front run a little bit, and that we get there much quicker. It starts pumping much higher, and that it actually peaks a little bit before that date, maybe a month, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month or 2 before that date, because then everyone's still expecting, hey, it's still going to go higher by the end of the year, so I'm going to keep holding, and then, it pulls back before. Markets always do what you don't expect them to do, so just keep that in mind. But in my opinion, I think we're somewhere in the hope phase, somewhere between hope and optimism. So let's see what's going to happen if those altcoins are going to start moving, or if Bitcoin is going to start moving towards 20,000 and start breaking above that. Well, then I think things are going to get really, really interesting. I mean, I definitely don't think we're in a retail mania at all yet. I don't think we're at a thrill euphoria level at all. I have started to notice in the last like 2-3 weeks, I've had more people reach out to me and ask me about, getting back into crypto, buying some more Bitcoin, which coin should I buy, that kind of stuff. So I haven't seen that for most of the bear market. So that shows me there is some interest starting to build once again, but it's far from the levels that I remember from 2017. It's really not, being hyped on social media or on TV or anything like that just yet. So I think we've still got some way to go, and I think 2021 is going to be very, very interesting. So I think we're going to be in for an interesting 2021. If you enjoyed this video, please smash the like button, guys. It takes 1 second and it really helps the channel out. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Click the notification bell, and if you want to watch another video, just click over here. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video.